Okay, to Studio 31, Darren Millard along with Daren Eliot at the controls of K-Tan today. That's the lingo inside the building that we operate on with Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Looking forward to this conversation, hanging out with my buddy for the next hour, who, if people aren't aware, has stepped away for a couple of weeks to get a procedure done. You've got a bionic hip now.
I do. Battled it for 5 years with the arthritis in the right hip. Got the surgery done, 2.5 weeks, so I'm hobbling around as standard operating procedure, I've been told. So still hobbled, but hopeful.
So still a little bit in pain, or are you feeling better?
Feeling better from that standpoint, but got to work it back in. You know, it's going to take a while, but said I'll be skating in 90 days. That's the goal.
Attaboy. Looking forward to it. The Golden Knights coming off the National Hockey League trade deadline since Nighttime at Noon. Last discuss things with everybody. Also back home off the 5-game road trip, so a lot to get into over the next 60 minutes hanging out with Daren Eliot. The National Hockey League trade deadline, just we'll get into it in more detail, but it brings the Vegas Golden Knights a couple of depth forwards. Yeah,
and it's really been a roster construction by General Manager Kelly McCrimmon ongoing. Trade deadline to him was, okay, that's a date on the calendar, but you think of the moves they made with Rasmus Andersson before the Olympic break, and then it was specific, and a lot of teams did this. So many teams in the mix for potential playoffs. What does our team need? What's a piece that could help our group? And I think that was something that Kelly McCrimmon attacked from a grit, face-off, penalty kill, very specific needs, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And as far as it spilling over onto the ice, we've seen the Golden Knights play a couple of good games. Not getting the results that they were after the last couple of games, but I think we've seen a certain uptick in their game.
The way they played against Edmonton, to me, is the way they have to play. Right? It's really stingy defense, grind down low, and capitalize through the neutral zone when you can on the rush. And you're not getting the results. Doesn't always, just because you play well in this league doesn't mean you're going to win. And I think they're going through that right now.
Beat or went up against a tough Minnesota team, lost 4-2 there, played better. Last night showed signs of turning the corner. We hear that adage from coaches all the time. When they are on a great run, they can see their games slipping. And
they might still win a couple.
This is the opposite of that, where you've been in a flat spot coming out of the Olympic break, but there are indications that better things are ahead. They've been at a different level the last two than they were on the 5-game road trip.
And that's the part that tests your resolve of the group more. When you're winning and we won, we got away with it, and then you lose. It's like we got to refocus. Whereas it's like, okay, we played well. We did pretty much everything we wanted to do, other than, against Minnesota, the old bugaboo of one goal turning into a field goal, giving up goals in bunches. And then against Edmonton, letting some of their star players get loose at the wrong time and taking the lead. But other than that, it's like, okay, that's how we have to play. That's our identity. And you're trying to mix in some new players as well. So to me, it's part of the process, and we know this is a veteran group, so I expect them to continue that trend.
What did you think of their game specifically to the Oilers last night and how they handled things? Had a goal taken off the board, a good push at the end. You could make an argument that they deserved better, but the Oilers found a way.
They did, and again, that's what it's going to be like down the stretch. I mean, everybody in the Western, especially in the Pacific, has aspirations of making the playoffs and possibly getting in the top 3. So the only way to stem that tide is to continue that trend. I thought they played Edmonton the way you have to play Edmonton, and limited chances against. They're going to get some looks. You're going to get 6 to 8, 8 maybe quality chances against as a goaltender, and you've got to be on point with that. And for the most part, Adin Hill got scrambling a little bit, but overall, his last 2 games mirror, improvement mirror that of the team.
Both teams were struggling going into
Yep.
that game last night, but they looked like they used each other to motivate the improvement in their games.
Metal sharpens metal, or whatever that.
Yeah.
And there's history, right? They know that in their minds anyway, to get out of the Pacific Division, typically they have to face off against one another. So it's built in that they're going to be at their best.
Okay, can I sell you on bad luck and hockey
Go ahead.
gods going against you?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you got the offside goal.
Yep.
Now
It was offside.
It was offside.
Right.
I was more disappointed in the linesman for not catching it.
You were
Then
texting me last night.
Then having to go through that, thinking that they'd scored, and then having it come off the board, realizing that it wasn't exactly
Close.
one of those ones that you had to get a magnifying glass out on. But you had the goal taken off, and then the broken stick, Rasmus Anderson's twig that was discarded, prevents Jack Eichel from going on a 2-on-1 and leads to a goal against. Is that what we're dealing with? Is that the scale that we're at right now?
Yeah, and it's the same thing when they came back and beat the Detroit Red Wings. Some breaks went their way. A goal called off that would have tied it with 13 seconds. So I'm not going to go with the good luck, bad luck, but oftentimes, more often, you earn your breaks. And so you're not quite there yet, is what that tells me.
The Podkolzin goal, if it's not in the first 3 minutes of a period,
that's right.
may not go in because the ice is a little scraped up in the crease.
But Roslovic was there, I think, to tap it in. But
Don't
okay.
ruin the argument. He didn't touch it.
No, he didn't.
Anyway.
Didn't have to.
So it's one of those things. It never got to the back of the net. It literally just dribbled across the line. And if that's 5 minutes to go in the period instead of 3 minutes into the period,
right?
I don't know. I had this list of woe is me. The things that were going against the organization last night, and I think I came up with a pretty solid argument that right now, the hockey gods are just not looking our way.
They won last night.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's better. I like that. So you've got Cole Smith and Nick Dowd back in. I've really liked that line, the two games that they played together.
You know what? I have too. And what I like about it is they don't just get stuck on the wall. Mm-hmm. There's a purpose to their forecheck. It's hard work. It's grinding, but they get to the front of the net and they get the puck there. So in terms of the identity that you want from your fourth line, I think they're really on the right track with those additions. What's more unsettled is your third and second line. Mm-hmm. You just can't.
There's some movement there last night.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It hasn't been solidified. Brett Howden coming back in helped a lot. I thought he played a really strong game for missing as much time as he did. But okay, you got your fourth line. You don't even have your first line with Mark Stone out. So that's been a constant churning of your forwards. And
but that fourth line could, even when people come back, Mark Stone returns, that fourth line looks like it would remain the same with Sissons, with Dowd, with Smith.
And what I think the bigger difference that you can tell right away is that Kelly McCrimmon, certainly Coach Cassidy, trusts them against the opposition's top line. It's the old school checking line. Veteran guys have filled that role, and the way they check is forecheck. Make the top players have to play defense. And I thought they did a good job of that.
And that's a shift that the Jack Eichel line isn't facing.
Correct.
One of the top players from the team. So Eichel's focus can be a little more offensive instead of divided between, I got to make sure I'm on the right side of the puck because Connor McDavid's out here.
Right.
You can get, for lack of a better term, more ozone play.
That's the thought process. You're getting more favorable matchups is the easiest way to put it.
So the fourth line isn't just stopping who they're against. They're taking up space to allow you to go forward. Nick Dowd's an interesting player. Got another year left.
Yep.
Interesting in a very good way. Has more offensive game than I think at first blush you go, Nick Dowd, how many goals has he scored in his career? What's he? He's like a 15 goal guy per year, a reliable face-off guy.
Yes.
Good penalty killer. Not the offensive game of a William Karlsson, but it does feel like he arrives here with that challenge ahead of him.
Right. I mean, because that was always the benefit that Bruce Cassidy had, is the ability to mix and match lines. William Karlsson his line could always play against the opposition's top offensive line, so he didn't have to worry about matchups as much. And I agree with you, not to the same degree, but the fact that you can play Nick Dowd's line seemingly in the first two games against the opposition's top offensive line, so your top guys don't have to play defense and hope for offense. They can go out and focus on offense.
So we've seen a bit of a evolution of the fourth line's role in the last week.
We have, and they've been searching for it all season long. It was a big identity for this franchise forever, as we know. And it was that. It wasn't just go take time off the clock. It was check the opposition's top offensive line, especially on the road if you get out there against that matchup. And second of all, chip in, score. There's an expectation to score some goals.
Smith can do that. Some great stuff on Smith. I was talking to his old junior coach. I'll get into in a little bit, but some really intriguing background on Cole Smith and Sissons is just chomping at the bit for some offensive success.
And now he finds himself on the wing. So you now again you've got that depth and again flexibility because the guys are able to play wing or center.
You are a big Valentine's guy. I know that.
There we go.
Huge. And I wonder if you have anything left to contribute on St. Patrick's Day. It's coming up on Tuesday. What's St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day. It's go out and get drunk.
I was more looking for the date.
Oh, like the 17th.
Yes. We all know Valentine's Day, but for some reason, some people forget it's the 17th. So at T-Mobile Arena, Vegas Golden Knights will celebrate St. Patty's Day as they face the Sabres. Special ticket packages start at $90 each and include a voucher for a draft beer or soda from select concession stands during the game. How cool is that? You can also book a ticket in our general admission standing room party deck, which is right beside us in section 117.
Great spot.
We get to hang out with everybody there and chant Go Knights Go. You can have access to an all-inclusive game day buffet and unlimited beer, wine, or soda. So at the party deck, visit VegasGoldenKnights.com today for more information. Back with Darren Eliot as we continue on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Get back into it with Darren Eliot in just a second. Golden Knights have launched VGK Pay, presented by American First Credit Union, as a centralized payment system within the official VGK mobile app. VGK Pay is the smart way to pay for concessions and team gear at T-Mobile Arena and the Arsenal at City National Arena. Fans are eligible to earn rewards known as Fortress Funds, and season ticket members can easily redeem their discounts when using VGK Pay. The VGK mobile app is available for iOS and Android devices in the App Store and Google Play stores. Check it out today. It's really convenient. Kind of just sorts through a lot of your working your way around your wallet and different aspects of the purchase. Daren Millard along with Daren Eliot. This is Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. So you're home of the Vegas Golden Knights. What were you going to say there?
About just saying, if we were on brand, wouldn't that be like kind of a barter system instead of all the high tech? But that's all. That's what was going through my mind.
I believe the barter system ended maybe 120 years ago.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the timeline there.
Just trying to say on brand in the realm.
Want to run through some individual players that we've been able to watch and evaluate in the last little bit. And first and foremost, great to see Brett Howden back in the lineup last night.
It really is. It's amazing. You miss him when he's gone, but then he's gone. You forget what he brings. Then he steps on the ice, and his speed, to me, really was evident against Edmonton. He really was. It was an infusion of energy, and again, flexibility. Plays the wing, plays center, takes draws. So nice to have him back, certainly.
Yeah, 15-plus minutes in his return. He was +1 last night, 3 hits, got into a scuffle, a kerfuffle behind the net. Wasn't taking anything from Daren Eliot. Landed a pretty good right chop. And the thing about Brett Howden is he's a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
But when it gets into the between the whistles and going, he's got some grit and sandpaper.
Yeah, I mean, that's just being competitive. You think about all the real tough guys over the years. Lots of them are some of the nicest guys in the game. On the ice, he never would have known that. Brett Howden doesn't aspire to be that kind of pugilist, but you're right. He's got that grit when the whistle blows, when the puck is dropped. It's time to play hockey.
He makes it harder on the opposition's defense.
Yeah, oh, for sure. He's a wedge buster, right? He's a football term. He gets in there quickly. But again, it's not just that get in there, roil around below the goal line, nothing ever happens. Something usually happens, puck gets in that, puck gets low to high.
Mm-hmm. Pavel Dorofeev records his second consecutive 30-goal season. That's a first for the Vegas Golden Knights. And talking about getting into the forecheck, Bruce Cassidy has really seemingly gone out of his way to point out that there's been an elevation in Dorofeev's game while playing with Mitch Marner. He's getting in on pucks that are dumped into the zone. He's going to the net with more focus and just price being paid on that element.
Well, and it makes sense, right? Mitch Marner does so many things well. Getting in on the first man on the forecheck as a centerman, probably not. Right? It's a winger's job. So Dorofeev recognizes that. He's been good at it, and he's been good at his plays along the wall, much elevated each and every year, the things you have to do as a winger. So there's that. And going to the net, when you're playing with Mitch Marner, I would too. Because the puck's going to be delivered usually in a real good fashion where you can get a good chance on goal.
So where's your characterization of Pavel Dorofeev as he slots in? Pure goal scorer, really good player, because there's so many elements of his game that almost take away from other elements, like the power play. We talk about it at length. So then you go, okay, how does he do 5-on-5? Well, he does a pretty good job 5-on-5. His shooting ability is elite, but he can distribute as well. His wall play is a top 5% in being able to control the puck. But he can skate and go east-west
and
too.
Holds on to the puck. No, you're watching him develop into a complete hockey player, and that's. The old 200-foot. You have to be able to do all the things in your own zone. And as a winger, really what that means is When the puck comes to you, can you handle it and make the next necessary play? And is that the center coming out? Is that chipping? Is it holding it? It's certainly not giving it up. And it's been, just wonderful to watch him develop as an all-round player.
I'll be honest, I don't notice him in the defensive zone.
That's a good thing.
Yes, but I don't think I've ever really been drawn to him. He's just clean.
Right, but early
zone.
in his career, like a lot of young players, it's like the puck comes to you, you fumble around with it, all of a sudden it's turned over. Now you're back in your own zone. D has to regroup D to D, and you're trying it again. But that's going back a couple of years. Mm-hmm. He's just made strides each and every season.
He's as clean as you've got out there, and
yeah.
strong with the puck. Hard to check off the puck.
You're right. That's another element that came about this year. I've noticed more. Is it in the open ice? He's not just chipping it in. He'll chip it in if it's the right play. But if he has a chance to carry it and hold on to it and allow his teammates to, say, a line change, come up behind him, he's able to control the puck. And he's trying to beat defensemen one-on-one. We've seen that as well, one-on-one, and drive the net, not necessarily just looking for a long-range shot.
Golden Knights' leading goal scorer in Pavel Dorofeev. The Olympians appear to be back in rhythm right now.
Yeah, Hanifin was really good last night.
And I thought Jack the last two games looked fantastic.
He has. I mean, let's be honest. That was a mental, physical, emotional whirlwind they went through. And no matter, I mean, the organization handled it, I think, brilliantly in terms of leaving those guys on the East Coast and then them joining the team as the team got out there for the road trip.
Can't interrupt a party, D. You can't interrupt a party.
Clock strikes midnight. Oh, no.
And the
gotta go.
Clocks went ahead an hour.
That's right. But no, I even with that, you could tell there was, a little bit of rust. And that's around the league. It's not just.
Oh, yeah. It was noticeable everywhere.
Right. Not endemic to just our team, even though we had so many players and part of the coaching staff, part of the Olympics. It's going to have an effect. It did have an effect. Jack's looked good, but I really noticed Noah Hanifin last night because.
What did you notice?
Him moving his feet, him being aggressive.
The goal, by the way, what a perfect setup. And I talked about the Rasmus Andersson broken stick and the hockey gods not being kind, but as a player jumping on the ice, he jumps on the ice, it's right there, and he does it. He was on the ice for 6 seconds before that goal went in.
Had ice, and Edmonton got crossed up in their coverage, left a lane. And he finds it back in that. One of the things again that has hindered this team this year is their lack of scoring from defense. I mean that's always been a pretty good strength, and it hasn't been there this year. I don't know if
is that because you don't have a defenseman on the power play.
I think that it's an unintended consequence. You have 5 forwards, and Coach Cassidy's talked about it. He's like, those guys don't get their touches. They don't get their offensive swerve going. And there's 3 of them now with Rasmus Andersson, Shea Theodore, and Hanifin. So then you take Theodore playing top minutes against the top offensive line. So defensively, there's probably not as much time at 5-on-5 to get going offensive. So there's reasons for it. And you really can't argue with the success of the power play.
No.
But
it affects the swag of the guys.
And just their numbers when they look at them, because you get those second assists on the power play. Those are awfully nice from those when you're a defenseman at the top. So, it's a nitpicky thing, but it's real. So it was nice to see him. He hadn't scored in, 33 games or something, I think they said. A long time, more than we would have expected.
And Mitch Marner has got his game going right back to what we saw going into the Olympic break.
Such a fan, saying it all year. Liked him as a hockey fan before, didn't know as much about him as watching him every day. What he's been able to do, go in, play center. His passing is sublime. I mean, some of the plays he makes, it'd be so fun to play on his line. Yeah, once in a while there's a turnover or something like that.
Well, I think it's a credit to guys who play with him.
Oh, yeah.
Because from afar, it looks like it would be hard to play with Mitch.
I think it would be. I mean, if you get in the right spot, he's going to find you.
Right.
But what's the right spot? because the right spot to him might be different than
Yeah.
what you think.
And when he doesn't have the puck, where's he going? There's such a creative element to Mitch Marner's game that is different than every other player in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, there's an artistry to it. There really is.
That's a better word.
Thank you. But he's fun to watch that way. Never mind the fact that he's way better defensively than I even considered. Not having, throughout his career, not watching him, that closely. Not a huge Maple Leafs fan. So, it's like you watch him every day. It's like, wow, that he really is dialed in all aspects.
And he's done this while transitioning to a position he hasn't played since junior.
I know.
And his play at center has impressed me.
Yep.
Early on, there was the draws, taking the faceoffs,
right,
and he was getting beat in that area. But the rest of it has been not seamless, but pretty close to it.
Yeah, and other than the faceoff, once the puck is dropped, even when he plays on the wing, he plays like a centerman in the middle of the ice. Now, there's the defensive responsibilities that are different and stuff like that, but to me, it's not that big a change for him because he likes the puck on his stick and he likes it in the middle of the ice. So that makes sense that he'd be able to, at least when they have the puck, he'd be effective as a centerman.
Now, some of the greatest discoveries come by accident or other necessity.
Right.
And that appears to be what's happened here. You wouldn't have looked at Mitch Marner playing down the middle this year had you not been forced to look at that.
And now, again, more flexibility, more options, makes you more dangerous, your roster top to bottom.
My favorite play this year was the one in Detroit. Was it the one in Detroit where he kicked the puck in?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
It was Buffalo, where they had the chance on the extra attacker. So he comes in to keep the puck in. He just kicked it. He didn't go down and try and shovel it in or anything. He just walked in and kicked it, and it landed right on Braden Bowman's stick, and away you go. But I don't think I've ever seen somebody do that.
That's, again, just reacting at a very high level, very creative. Put it in the scoring area, and Braden Bowman, unfortunately, rattled it off the crossbar.
And have you noticed when the extra attacker is out there for the Vegas Golden Knights and the opposition gets a chance, it's always Mitch Marner in the crease?
Yeah.
Like we got to talk to him. Is there
road hockey?
Is there a backstory here on Mitch Marner playing road hockey or in the gym playing floor hockey as the goaltender? Because he looks really comfortable in there. He's doing kick saves and everything.
I know. Well, he and that just shows, again, level of compete. I mean, guys do that when they're, again, pucks dropped, nice, quiet demeanor, whatever, off the ice, on the ice, anything to win.
I'm waiting for him to throw a little RVH in the side of the net. I don't want him stacking the pads, but RVH would be a pretty cool thing. Let's take a break. We'll come back. More Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. We'll get into the action post-trade deadline. How do we evaluate some of the moves around the National Hockey League? Stay with us. Oh, get ready. The World Cup is coming this summer with the Vegas Golden Knights and AFC Bournemouth gathering together to build enthusiasm. So at T-Mobile Arena on Thursday, March 19th, when the VGK battle the Utah Mammoth at 7 o'clock, we've got special ticket packages starting at $85 each, and it includes a limited edition VGK/AFC Bournemouth screen print soccer jersey. It's part of our exclusive Season 9 jersey offer series. It's with tickets available to be purchased through this package to qualify for the jersey at vegasgoldenknights.com today for more information. So tickets must be purchased through the package to qualify to win the jersey. It's got stripes on it. It's not bad.
Looks good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
And this is a size medium, and it still fits me well.
With your quarter zip underneath, it's unbelievable.
It is pretty cool. I was wearing this around the office the other day, and people too didn't matter whether I talk to them every day or whether we're like passing in the night. Everybody's like, "Where'd you get that jersey? What's that jersey for?" Big number 9 on it, so celebrate the World Cup coming and get involved. AFC Bournemouth, VGK, we're connecting the dots, as I like to say in the marketing world. That's what we're doing here. Biggest move since after the trade deadline, and some non-moves too. Quite honestly, this year it wasn't the most overwhelming year,
quietest ever.
But the prices were so high that you understand why there wasn't a lot of activity. Going into it, the thought was there's too many teams that are still in it that you won't see as much action. And in the end, there was some separation when we finally got down to it, but the sellers just held firm on their asking prices.
They did, and there were some lots of guys had no movement clauses. To some degree, some had waived them, some didn't initially. I think that the whole salary cap being applied the way it is, that's a generic way of putting it, for the playoffs was another consideration.
Yeah, the changes in the CBA.
Yeah. And you couldn't have a third team take some salary, so double retention wasn't part of it anymore either. So there were some things that, to me, I made it smart for teams that got out in front of it and didn't wait until after the Olympics. Kelly McCrimmon went out and made their big splash before with Rasmus Anderson, for instance.
You saw a couple of teams in similar development stages, Anaheim and Montreal.
Yep.
And approach it in very different ways. Montreal was quiet. Anaheim pulled off one of the biggest deals of the day in acquiring the ailing John Carlson, who will be back.
Yeah, and that's I think a good get for the Ducks. John Carlson, veteran, tremendous player for so many years, helps a young team, and so from that standpoint, I like that move. I think the other thing that I'm going to give the organization, Vegas Golden Knights, the whole notion of giving up a first-round pick, I heard Steve Yzerman talking about it with Jacob Slavin, which I think was another good defensive add by teams in those similar development phases, if you will. It's like first-round pick versus a player that can play now and help us now. Don't overvalue first-round picks. And I think that's kind of, what you saw. Teams that were selling maybe overvalued. So I want a first-round pick. A lot of other teams like, you know what? If it's not exactly the player we want, we'll pass. And so you get very little action on trade deadline day.
The much sought-after second-line center search was solved by the Colorado Avalanche
Twice.
in reacquiring Nazem Kadri.
And Nick Waugh. So they really added their depth down the middle. And again, that's teams that have won it, have aspirations of winning it, know the value of having depth and flexibility at the center ice position. And Colorado, the season they've had, guess what? They still wanted to get better, tweak their roster.
And they have to, quite honestly, to be able to get out of that division.
Wow.
Nobody else has to worry about the Central Division until at least the minimum, the Western Conference Final.
Right.
The East doesn't have to worry about them until the Stanley Cup Final. So we can all talk about the greatness of the Central Division, but unless you're a wild card, Vegas doesn't have to go through there, and the Carolina Hurricanes don't have to go through there at all. You may not have to deal. The East may never have to deal with them. So
one really good
Colorado
team
has to be good.
Yeah.
It has to add and make themselves better.
Well, it looks right now, Dallas and Minnesota, one of those two teams are going to be out in the first round. Quality teams, top 5 teams in the league. So, like to your point, then it's going to eventually come down to, that side of the bracket.
So, do we overrate what's happening in the Central Division?
Well, I don't think you
because teams won't have to deal with it.
Right. Well, it's just like having depth at the Olympics in goal. You only need one goalie.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Right? It's like, oh, they got great depth in goals. Like, yeah, you got 2 guys who are really good who are not going to play.
I love the acquisition by the New York Islanders of Braden Shen. And the Islanders have been sneaky good all year. Matthew Schaefer gets a lot of attention there, and rightly deserved. But not enough talk about the success of what's happened there. First-year general manager, stuck with the head coach, and I think that they're a team that should be looked at as a contender in the Eastern Conference.
Goaltender with
great goaltending,
right? So you've got great goaltending. You've got Bo Horvat, veteran guys like that. Anders Lee.
The Shen deal feels like the Horvat deal.
Right.
Like the potential impact on the team.
Yeah, and so these aren't like aspiring youngsters. These are veteran guys. So they know how to play the game. And you have that kind of goaltending in the playoffs. I've liked what they've done there. And it's been, like, again, don't want to call it sneaky, but they've kind of snuck up on everybody. Nobody expected the impact of the young defenseman. Let's be honest. I mean, he's been otherworldly in terms of what he's meant in terms of a spark.
Feels like every 3 weeks he's breaking one of Denny Potvin's records.
Yeah, he's that goes back a ways. So let's be honest. But they play him a ton, and Patrick Waugh made that decision early. Head coach, he said, "I've got to play him 23 minutes, 24." He's that good, and he's, I guess maybe more than anything, the stamina. He really hasn't had that much of a dip.
Let's take the Central Division out of the equation.
All right.
Who's the best team in the National Hockey League?
Outside of the top 3 in the Central.
Yes.
Let me just scroll, if you may. Right now, it's the Buffalo Sabres, in terms of what I've seen.
Recency bias. Yeah, they've won 7 in a row.
Well, and they've won
they're back in first place.
30 games since November, since mid-November.
One of the most Sabre thing ever is look at what the points are. They're in first place, right?
Yep.
Look at the points percentage. So Sabre fans are like, oh, we're not quite there yet because they're second in points percentage behind Tampa.
Well, yeah, they played 2 more games from that standpoint.
But is there a clear
that's the
best
point.
team?
That's the point, right? Like, Pittsburgh's better than we thought they'd be. We saw that.
Carolina's great, but
Carolina
in the playoffs is different than Carolina.
Who's in goal for them?
Brandon Busson.
Right?
Yeah.
27-year-old. Right, and Detroit is playing well, but they're not even guaranteed to get in.
Right.
It's wide open. There's no doubt.
And the Pacific is sorting itself out.
Right.
And I don't know when that will actually happen, but it's sorting itself out.
Well, it'll sort itself out if you go on a run. You'll get some clarity. Mm-hmm. That has to happen for the VGK, certainly. But, yeah, your point's well taken. Did you watch that Buffalo game?
I'm going to save that, okay? We're going to take a break.
All right.
I had a fear here.
What's your fear?
I didn't want to talk about the Buffalo game yesterday against the Tampa Bay Lightning early on in the show for fear of triggering some kind of PTSD in you. and It's purely selfish.
8-7 game.
I didn't want to host the show
What's so big
by
about
myself.
that? What's so big about that?
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure you stuck around for most of the show before you started twitching over there after that 8-7 game. We'll come back and we'll get into what happened between the Sabres and the Tampa Bay Lightning and final thoughts looking ahead to this week's hockey games for the Vegas Golden Knights against Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Chicago. Stay with us on Fox Sports Las Vegas. A lot of great stuff happening around the VGK. You spoke, Golden Knights listened. New VGK Locals menu now available at all the team's home games. Main features, hot dogs, nachos, water, fountain soda, call it pop, pretzels, popcorn, just $5.50. Season ticket members also receive an additional 10% off all concessions. Season ticket members receive an additional 10% off all concessions, including the VGK Locals menu. Go Knights Go. It's awesome stuff. I've been able to dig into that myself a little bit, and it's neat walking away from the concession having paid a little bit less than we're used to.
$4.95, right? That's 10% off the $5.50. So there you go.
Yeah, thanks. Putting that education to use at Cornell. It only cost you $200,000. I'm not sure if you could have got 10%.
Not back then.
Daren Millard along with Daren Eliot. This is Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Hope you're enjoying the show. For the Vegas Golden Knights, Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Chicago. Chicago it finally relents. The schedule relents a little bit. We knew this was going to be a beast coming out of the Olympics with a 5-game road trip, and then the quality of opposition when the team got home. And it's almost like you just got to survive it.
And you're in survival mode. So when you take a look at those, you're at Dallas tomorrow, and then Pittsburgh and Chicago. You don't want to put limits or set goals because you have to go each game at a time. You need as many points as you possibly can. Not going to be easy. Saw how good Pittsburgh can be on that road trip. Chicago has some young players that can hurt you if you let them. But really, in a game like that, it's more, as coaches say, about us than the opposition. A couple of tendencies here and there, but overall, you need those points, especially on home ice.
What do you like about what you've seen the last couple of games? And then we'll get into where they can be better.
I've liked their starts have been better. And I've liked the kind of ground game, if you will, on the forecheck that's led to the balance between the forechecking chances and the rush chances. I think they've played pretty connected as well in all three zones for the most part. And look, we've been saying it all year. They don't give up very many shots, very many quality scoring chances. So at some point, that base has got to lead to success if you stick with it. That's my belief because that's what they've seen. They seem to have built in the personnel, and knowing that this is your personnel is helpful as well.
Doesn't feel like they're that far off.
No, it doesn't.
But the results would generate a different narrative. The Pittsburgh game, they allowed 5, but other than that, it's 4 or less. If you're scoring like you were at the start of the year, it wouldn't be nearly a big issue. So do you need to tighten it up and get a game where you only allow 1, or does the offensive side have to rescue you and pull you out of this?
Well, I don't think it has to rescue you. I think that you'd like to finish more, certainly, up and down your lineup. More production from the D. The fourth line, identity line, maybe chip in, or that third line, whoever that happens to be on any given night. Those kinds of things in offense. I don't think you can tighten up necessarily much more. Minnesota poses a problem forechecking wise. They're so good on the forecheck. They weren't that crisp in terms of generating the quick outs. So that's more of a matchup thing. But overall, all season long, they've been good at keeping it pretty clean in front of their nets and keeping the shots to the outside. So you need some more saves. And so if you combine that, you end up winning 4-1.
I like what you're thinking. We'll look for more of that tomorrow on the pregame show on Scripps Sports. We are on the air at 4:30. You'll be in the room.
I will.
Working the deal.
Back to back, I'll be exhausted.
Yeah, how you holding up right now?
Good. I'm fine. I'm sitting, so I'm just like everybody. When I'm walking, I'm maybe a little more noticeable.
I was a little concerned because we've got the higher stools in here. They're comfortable, but they're higher stools. And whether or not that would affect. If you missed the top of the show, Eliot had a hip replaced, and he's in the early goings of that recovery.
Yeah, just a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks in, doing the best I can. So far, so good.
I don't know what it is about you guys. We're going through a bad stretch right now because Alec Martinez was here on the weekend, and he had foot surgery last week. He's on a scooter.
Right, so we were supposed to meet for coffee, he and I. He's like, you're going to limp in. I'm going to scoot in. Why don't we just do a call? And that's what we did.
I got to take the elevators that I didn't even know existed hanging out with the two of you guys. Here's the story of the weekend. 8-7, Buffalo beats the Tampa Bay Lightning in a game that featured over 100 minutes in penalties. First time that you've had a 15-goal game with 100 minutes in penalties since the 80s.
There you go, right in my wheelhouse. I was a part of those kind of games. 8-6 losses, 8-8 ties. It was Buffalo scored the first 3 goals and the last 3 goals. It was a chaotic
Both
game.
teams had multi-goal leads.
Oh yeah, it was. I watched the whole thing. It was an anomaly. The best part, the only guy who came off smiling was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, because you won. If you lose 8-7, you come off, you're depressed. You got the W, you just go, okay, whatever. But Buffalo is real. They have talent. What made it gel? They want to talk about the GM change. I don't buy that in the least.
They'd won their first 3 games of that winning streak with the old general manager.
Right. I don't think, I personally, because Lindy's been around forever. I love Lindy Ruff. Great coach. Classic coach. Seth Appert, who came up from Rochester, coached in the National Development Program. I think he might have some fundamental fingerprints on what they're doing and why there's buy-in and the way they're playing.
Are the Tampa Bay Lightning the modern-day Broad Street bullies? No, because anytime you try and push them, like Florida, they just go right back at you. And now Buffalo's in the division challenging the Tampa Bay Lightning. That game yesterday was a measuring stick for both.
Yeah.
And Tampa's like, we're coming right after you.
Yeah, and Buffalo said we're not going to take it. We'll push right back. That kind of sets the precedent for, I would say, playoff hockey. I mean, it's you don't get the fights typically anymore, but you sure get the grit and the pounding and the big hits and the not giving up in front of the net front in terms of the scrums.
You know, the 2 biggest smiles yesterday leaving the rink were the backup goalies, because they both knew that they were playing. Now, Tampa knew that he was playing anyway in Vasilevsky, but 8-7 game, the backup's like, I'm pretty sure I'm going in next game. But both starters finished that game.
I know. It was complete games, 8-7 complete game. That's what made it more 80s than anything. It was that one guy gives up 8, one guy gives up 7, and neither side pulled their goaltender.
So Buffalo is for real in your mind?
Yep, they are.
See, I have a hard time buying in full throttle due
hard.
to the fact that we've seen it before. Never this late in the season. Like, they have a division lead this late in the season for the first time in forever.
Yeah, 2010, I think.
So that goes beyond the playoff drought. So it's been impressive what they've been able to do. I think having the trade deadline over has helped that group, because there was always the feeling that, okay, if people aren't signed, say Alex Tuck, not signed, are we gonna move them? Different pieces that could be fluid, and now they are who they are,
and that is calming. You know, for a group that likes what they've accomplished together, feels good about themselves, a little bit of uncertainty removed, just go out and play hockey.
For the Golden Knights, it's back at it tomorrow against the Dallas Stars. 4:30 is the pregame show on Scripps Sports, 4 o'clock on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Get you set for this one. You've seen some progress, back-to-back better games. You're trending in the right direction. I think you'd say the last 2 games were the 2 best games that we've seen post-Olympics, right?
Right, and Dallas, again, there's some history. It'll be a good one.
Mm-hmm. You think that carries over, or do they just focus on what they have to do?
They will, until they get into some of those individual one-on-one battles that you've had with the same player before.
Are you talking about Jamie Benn?
Could be. Alluding.
Why don't you just say his name? Thanks to Katie. Thanks to Andrew for making this happen. Appreciate it, everybody. Special edition of Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas.